I've been a solo camper for years. I usually prefer the solitude of the deep woods to crowded campsites. But after what happened last October in the Cascade foothills, I don't think I'll ever go out alone again. I wasn't a novice. I knew how to hang a bear bag, how to read a map, and how to spot predators. But you can't spot something that knows how to hide perfectly. It was late afternoon when I found the spot. It wasn't a designated campsite, just a flat clearing about 2 miles off the main trail, nestled against a steep rock face. It felt secluded and safe. The hike-in had been uneventful, just the sound of my boots on the dying autumn leaves. I set up my tent, a bright orange one-person sleeper, and got a small fire going. The sun went down fast, and the temperature plummeted. By 9 o'clock p.m., the woods were dead silent. Usually, you hear owls, crickets, or the wind, but that night, the silence was heavy, like a blanket. I ate my dinner and decided to turn in early. I put the fire out, completely paranoid about wildfires, doused it with water, and stirred the dirt until it was cold to the touch. I crawled into my tent, zipped the door shut, and buried myself in my sleeping bag. I woke up abruptly. I didn't know what time it was, but it was pitch black. I lay there, listening. At first, I thought maybe a deer had walked through the camp. Then, I heard it. Crunch. It was the distinct sound of a boot stepping on dry leaves. Heavy, deliberate, and it was close, maybe 10 feet from the tent. My heart started hammering against my ribs so hard I thought it would give me away. I held my breath. Crunch. Crunch. Footsteps. Slow, rhythmic pacing. They were circling the tent. This wasn't an animal. Animals stop and sniff. They scurry. This was a person walking a tight perimeter around me. I slowly reached for the knife I keep in the side pocket of the tent. My hand was shaking. The footsteps stopped right at the head of the tent. I could hear breathing, heavy, wet breathing, right on the other side of the thin nylon fabric. Inches from my face, I lay paralyzed, clutching the knife. Minutes stretched into hours. The breathing stopped, but I never heard them walk away. I lay there with my eyes wide open in the dark, until the sun finally started to turn the tent walls gray. When I finally worked up the courage to unzip the door, I burst out with my knife raised, screaming, ready to fight. The clearing was empty. The woods were silent. I lowered the knife, feeling foolish but flooded with relief. Maybe I had dreamt it. Maybe it was just a curious bear. I turned to pack up my gear, wanting to leave immediately. That's when I saw the fire pit. I had doused the fire. I had stirred the ashes into mud. But now, in the center of the cold, wet ash, the charred pieces of wood had been rearranged. They were stood up perfectly straight, jammed into the mud to form a crude, jagged stick figure. And sitting on top of the stick figure's head was my own toothbrush. I hadn't left my toothbrush by the fire. It had been in my backpack, inside the tent vestibule. Someone had opened my pack while I was sleeping, taken my toothbrush, and built this effigy just a few feet away from where I lay unconscious. They didn't take my wallet. They didn't take my camera. They just wanted me to know they were there. I left the tent. I left the sleeping bag. I grabbed my keys and my phone and I ran the entire 3 miles back to the truck. I didn't stop looking over my shoulder until I was on the highway. My job requires me to drive across 3 states twice a week. I'm a courier for medical supplies, which means I'm often on the road at 3 o'clock or 4 a.m., carrying somewhat valuable cargo. I stick to the interstates mostly, but last winter, a massive pileup on I-80 forced me onto a detour through rural Pennsylvania. If you've never driven through the Pennsylvania wilds at night, it's arguably the darkest place in America. The trees crowd the road, blocking out the moonlight. I was in a rental van, a Ford Transit, and the high beams were barely cutting through the sleet that had started to fall. I was about 20 miles down this 2-lane blacktop when I saw something in the road. I instinctively slammed on the brakes. The van skidded slightly on the slick pavement before coming to a halt. Lying across the center line was a child's bicycle. It was bright red, lying on its side, the front wheels still slowly spinning as if it had just been dropped. My first instinct was panic. I thought I had missed seeing a kid. I scanned the ditches, looking for a child, but the road was empty. Then, The logic center of my brain kicked in. It was 3:30 a.m. It was freezing rain. There were no houses for miles. Why would a kid be riding a bike out here? I put the van in park, but kept my foot on the brake. I reached for the door handle to get out and move the bike, but something stopped me. A feeling in my gut, a primal alarm bell ringing in my head saying, "Don't get out of the car." I looked at the bike again. It was too clean. There was no mud on the tires. It looked brand new. I shifted the van into reverse. I was going to back up, turn around, and find another route. As soon as my reverse lights came on, illuminating the road behind me, I saw them. 3 men were standing in the tree line behind the van. They weren't wearing coats. They were wearing dark hoodies, and they were holding lengths of pipe. They had been waiting for me to get out to move the bike. If I had stepped out of that door, I would have been flanked. One of them sprinted toward the van the second he realized I saw him. He swung the pipe and smashed the driver's side taillight. I didn't wait. I slammed the gear shift back into drive, floored the gas, and swerved around the bike. As I passed the bike, I felt the van thump over something sharp. A second later, the tire pressure sensor lit up on my dashboard. Call trips they had spiked to the road around the bike. I knew if I stopped, I was dead. I drove on the rim. The sound was deafening, metal grinding on asphalt, the van vibrating violently. I watched the rearview mirror. I could see headlights appear in the distance behind me. The truck was following me. I drove like that for 5 miles, sparks flying from the wheel well, doing 60 miles an hour on a shredded tire. Finally, I saw the lights of a 24-hour gas station ahead. I screeched into the lot, right up to the front door where the clerk was standing. The truck that was following me slowed down, paused at the entrance of the gas station, and then slowly accelerated away into the darkness. The police found the bike, but the men were gone. They said it as a tactic. They've been seen before using a prop to get a driver to exit the vehicle willingly. I don't stop for anything in the road anymore. Deer, debris, bikes. I drive around it, or I drive through it. I moved into a garden-level apartment in Chicago about 2 years ago. It was a nice place, affordable, but the windows were at ground level, facing the alleyway. I installed bars on the windows immediately. Who's to be safe? I thought that was enough. I lived alone, and I'm a creature of habit. I leave for work at 7:30 a.m., and I get back at 6 o'clock p.m. every day. About 2 months into living there, I started noticing small things. I'd come home, and the bathroom door would be open when I swore I left it shut, or the milk in the fridge would be left on the counter. At first, I blamed my own forgetfulness, stress at work, lack of sleep. You rationalize it. Then, the smell started. It was faint at first, like stale cigarettes and unwashed clothes. I don't smoke. I scrubbed the apartment top to bottom, but the smell would come and go. It was strongest near the closet in my bedroom. One Tuesday, I came home early because I had a migraine. It was around 2 o'clock p.m. I unlocked my front door quietly, trying not to make my headache worse. The apartment was dark. The blinds were drawn. I walked into the kitchen to get a glass of water, and I froze. There was a half-eaten sandwich on a plate on my kitchen counter. A sandwich I didn't make, and next to it was a glass of my orange juice. Condensation was still on the glass. Someone had just poured it. My heart stopped. I listened. Silence. I slowly backed out of the kitchen, reaching for my phone to call 911. As I backed into the hallway that led to my bedroom, I looked up. My bedroom door was slightly ajar. Through the crack, I could see the reflection of the mirror on my closet door, and in the reflection, I saw him. A man was standing inside my closet. He was incredibly thin, wearing dirty clothes that looked like rags. He was standing perfectly still, pushed back among my winter coats, just watching the door through the slats of the closet shutters. He was waiting for me to come into the room. I didn't scream. I didn't confront him. I turned and ran out the front door faster than I have ever run in my life. I called the police from the sidewalk, shaking so hard I dropped my phone twice. When the police arrived, they went in with guns drawn. They dragged him out in handcuffs. It turned out he wasn't just a burglar. He had been living there. The police found a small, crawlspace access panel in the back of my closet that I didn't even know existed. It led to a utility void behind the wall. He had a sleeping bag, a bucket, and photos back there. Photos of me sleeping. Photos taken from the closet slats. He had been watching me sleep every night for weeks. He knew my schedule perfectly. The only reason he got caught was because I came home 4 hours early. The detective told me that based on the knife they found in his bedding, he wasn't planning on staying hidden forever. He was planning on making his move soon. I moved out the next day. I broke my lease, left half my furniture, and never went back. Now, I check every closet, every cabinet, and every corner of my home the second I walk through the door. You never know who is waiting for you in the dark.